Hey guys, this is the Ecron Writer here. It's quite a shame that Black History Month was established on the shortest month of the year. Lesser time to celebrate it and embrace it to a lot of communities. But most of all, there hasn't been a lot of countdowns on the subject. As far as I know, Black characters can be rather scarce, even the ones that seem the most tolerable. Just don't expect a lot of mature games and first-person shooters on the list. So let's check out my top 10 Black characters in video games. Same rules apply, only from games I've played, one per franchise, and of course, they must have a black complexion or whatever else that make them stand out, such as general characterization. Also, as long as they did the job right, they don't always have to be portrayed by a black person themselves. With all that said, let's begin. Starting off the list is Ooze. As I was looking for candidates on the list, he barely qualified. He's a 10-year-old boy raised on a distant island, and he participated in the 28th martial arts tournament. He wanted to win the prize money to feed his starving family, and he's rumored to be the strongest fighter off his homeland. No wonder, since he happens to be the human form and reincarnate of Kid Buu. Yikes. I had some limited experience with him, as I only saw him rarely in Budokai 3, and the last episode in the anime. It was, however, a shame that he was eradicated in GT, but at least he stayed around longer in Super. Good for him. I, however, wasn't crazy about him, as he decided to be Goku's disciple, hence vanishing and staying at his distant island for a good number of years. So, he was cut in my Bouncer tetralogy. No wonder Phantom Strider was outraged on the outcome of the series. At least he's trained to be an aspiring Z fighter. Wish he had some more talent and potential, though. Another contender that barely qualified for the list is Blues from DDR Extreme. He's one of the default characters to select, along with a girl named Rhythm. He seems to be a handsome guy, even funny at times as you play as him in party mode. Not much is known about him though, excepting he was born on November 16th in Atlanta, Georgia, and he only appeared in DDR Extreme 1 and 2. Just the facts that he loves pizza, clubs, dancing, and DJing. Dislikes boredom, and he's only 19, probably the third youngest person on the list. This was just a little something to make the characters diverse, but I never really cared for them that much. Hence only taking number 9. Up next is Axel from the Twisted Metal series, and may I say he's one of the most intimidating opponents, especially in campaign mode, when you're on top of a series of buildings with limited space, or trapped in a corner. Anyway, I wasn't a huge fan of Axel, but finding his info was interesting. When he was a kid, his deranged father trapped him in a large two-wheel contraption, and he wishes to break free as he wins the tournament and over Calypso. But if he wants freedom from his prison, why does he want to merge with his machine forever? Damned video game logic. He's a nearly indestructible force never to be reckoned with. His supersonic shockwave can be a devastating attack, even the closer you get to him. Whenever I should hear the name and or its wave sound effect, I just want to run my tail off. This cursed guy is a nightmare. Once he has you in his sights, and he'll stop at nothing on destruction. Even if it's in the air, his shockwave's still effective. And he's a strong hombre both offensively and defensively. Man, I would beg to use Minion to get rid of this terrifying man trapped in a tool of massive murder and mayhem. I was going to put either Brock or Iris in the list, but even though I saw this gym leader for a short while, he does seem to be a lot more tolerable than them. Grant from Pokemon X and Y. As the leader of Salage City Gym, he's the first major opponent the trainer encounters as they set foot into Kalos. Grant is pretty cool, not counting his funky attire, but how he structured his gym and his Pokemon. As I'd seen in the anime, Ash had two choices. Either rock climb all the way to the top where the arena is, or simply just take the elevator. Good thing you don't get penalized if you should take the latter. His Pokemon aren't quite bad, as he owns an Onix and two cool prehistoric creatures, a Mora and Tyrant. In fact, the latter made me like both Tyrant and Tyrantrum. And he seems to be a rock-type specialist, gifting you the Clip Badge when you win. I found his personality to be a lot more acceptable cause Brock and Iris are... yeah... pitiful! I never had a lot of experience with him in the game or the anime, as I quit entirely when Ash reached Olympia, and the series itself has become more redundant and complicated. But Grant does stand out as one of the first gym leaders. You got off lucky here, dog. I'm sure he would be on here. I mean, just looking at his dark complexion explains it all. Hell, there was even a black actor who had to play as him in this cheesy musical. Anyway, Ganondorf was just too sinister to pass up. He, along with the Gerudo in general, tend to have that dark look onto them. And it's not just from the scorching sun and being in the desert. Like my villains list, I am not counting his alter egos like his beast form or Aghanim. And while most of the Gerudo are based on Arabian or Amazonians, I consider Ganondorf having more of a black outlook, which really suits his sorcery and his intimidation well. Ever since I was a teen, he really got me interested and sometimes terrified. While most of his voice actors are just Japanese, a black voice actor can still do him good and maybe increase his X factor. Out of all the characters in Mortal Kombat, there wasn't a lot to choose from. I was hesitant to add either Sector's human form, or would only be partial, and I never knew Tanya all that well. So, by default, I had no choice but to put Jax on the list. Ever since his debut in Mortal Kombat 2, Major Jackson Briggs has become a powerhouse. I'd say he's even twice as better as Axel, but I wasn't too crazy of him. Since Sonya and Kano were the least popular, there needed to be a replacement, and Jax was... alright. He was portrayed by the series creator Ed Boon, and Dorian Harewood has done an awesome job voice acting as him in Defenders of the Realm, making him as a soulful and strong hero, much like another contender. His performance in Annihilation wasn't too shabby either, especially when he was the only one who beat the shtick out of Motaro. You go, Lynn Red Williams! Hey, at least I'd prefer his metallic arms to be cybernetic strength enhancers rather than limb replacements. Yeesh! Overall, I would consider Jax as one of the most significant characters in the series, and as an okay candidate for this list, hence taking the 5th spot. Luca is the princess of the dwarves of the underworld from my personal favorite installment, Final Fantasy IV. She's the only daughter of the ruler of the dwarves, King Geot, and she yearns to visit the overworld someday as dwarves are unable to breach the Earth's surface. You first get to meet her as the Enterprise gets shot down by enemy fire from the Red Wings, and the team gets stranded next to the nearby kingdom. Unfortunately, Golbez has beaten them to the Dark Crystal as her robotic dolls, Kalka and Brenna, had been lost and soon hacked and brainwashed when you'd face them in a tough battle. Eventually, she does have her chance to surface, along with her dad, as the dwarves attempted to shoot down the Giant of Babel, allowing Cecil and the others to infiltrate it. Then she was one of the people who prayed for their victory over Zeromus, to which they had succeeded. And she was also one of the cute attendees during Cecil and Rose's wedding and coronation. Luca seems to be inspired by the Jawas in Star Wars, same outlook and hardly seeing her face. Although she finally does in the after years and functions as Cid's personal assistant and apprentice. And it's cool her dolls function as heroes. Plus the dwarves always go by that catchphrase, "Lully-ho, y'all!" How can I not put Moto on the list? That'll just be impossible to me. Moto is one of the main guys next to Throttle and Vinny. As one of the greatest biker mice and freedom fighters trained by Stoker. Along with his bros, they escaped Mars once the Plutarchians invaded and spent some of their lives on Earth in Charlie's motorbike repair shop. He's very distinctive amongst the trio, and during Lethal Explosion, he lost his left eye, resulting in an eye patch, and his right arm, and was soon replaced with a large mechanical arm by Dr. Carbuncle in hopes on turning him into a bionic mindless slave. Luckily, the trio escaped in the nick of time, though it was hard for him to leave his precious nephew Rimfire behind. Sadly, I haven't seen the 2006 remake yet, but I have heard he was one of the heroes who restored Mars thanks to protecting the Regenerator and overthrowing the Plutarchians and the Catatonians. Moto seems to have a lot more development in the animated series than he does in the game, and his playstyle? Oh man! He is an absolute brute! He tends to run over his opponents, even his own kind! I always dreaded when he happens to be used by the computer, especially when he spawns right behind you! Not cool! Curse you, Bionic Crutch! Dorian Harewood did an amazing job playing as him, suiting his heartfelt, smooth personality, and also whenever he should get protective and brutal. Let me tell ya, he and Panthro from the Thundercats are the only anthropomorphic black characters that stood out to me. And those are not easy to find. I like Moto, but not as much as Throttle or Vinny because of the dread I get in the game. But his mom taught him well on his mannerisms.
As my dear old gray-furred mama used to say, courtesy is the rule of the road. Ride free, citizen!
Release those wicked mamma-jammers, bike boy!
Coming into second place is Lucy from F-Zero. At first I was going to pick Kate Allen for the list, but I seem to know and like her a lot more. She only debuted in GP Legend and Climax. Ever since she was attacked inside a space bus in Planet Minte and watched Rick attend his first race, she ultimately became a member of the Elite Mobile Task Force. As Dr. Clash's apprentice, their young engineer, and a gifted F-Zero pilot of the Elegance Liberty. She also seems to have a girly streak, but when pushed to the limit, she could become a real protective badass. Amy Bimbaum did a decent job on voicing her too. Still, Lucy seems to have a heart of gold and a bit naive, as she had a crush on Leon at one point, but he turned out to be a werewolf and their relationship went astray, thanks to Beast Man's meddling. She also managed to upgrade Gomar and Shio's machine, but her improvements backfired in a race. No matter, she seems to have a significant small role in my F-Zero fix though. Even a strange makeover. It's weird that we don't see her passe again since lap 2. And she happens to have a similar dynamic to Clash, like Sid and Luca from Final Fantasy IV. Lucy's alright, but I at least consider her over Kate, ever since I encountered her in her self-centered mean streak. Sorry for that, Barry. The second I started constructing this a while back, there was only one person that can take the top spot, and he hasn't just impacted me in games, but in all media, including movies. And my all-time favorite black character is none other than... Apollo Creed makes his way as my all-time favorite black character. It was actually thanks to him that gave Rocky a shot at the title, as his fighting career has become stale and he made the inspiring decision on picking an underdog during America's biggest birthday, New Year's. He seems to be sentimental and patriotic, but more of a show-off. He became interested thanks to Balboa's name, Italian Stallion, and helped make him a champion despite the bitter rematch twice, even becoming his own tutor, who is actually better than Mickey. I'm serious. Although, while he was still a shadow compared to Rocky, he did meet his tragic demise as he was being brutally beaten by the Russian tank, Drago. Man, that caused quite an upset. And there's no one else that should fit the role other than the legendary actor and athlete, Carl Weathers. And damn, he's got a lot of nicknames. The Master of Disaster, the King of Sting, the Count of Monte Cristo, the Prince of Punch, the Dancing Destroyer, the one and only Apollo Creed? Whew. And he has won all 47 fights out of 48, excepting one against Rocky. Wow! At least he was succeeded when Rocky found potential in his son Adonis Johnson Creed, later known as Creed in his own spin-off series. Actually, Apollo was trained by a former professional boxer, Tony Duke Evers, and by the time he was retiring, he taught him how to be one of the best at the Delphi Boxing Academy, as well as a good mentor. As stated in Rocky IV, Apollo was very much like Duke's son as he raised him, but at least he had a second shot watching over Rocky preserving his legacy, and soon Creed with his son as his assistant. I was always inspired by Apollo, as an athlete and a mentor in some aspects. He may seem tough as nails, but he did have some issues behind the scenes, and he still did a great job as Chubbs in Happy Gilmore. I'm the Ekron writer, and Apollo Creed has always been an inspiration to me in all media, even more than JB. I think all people should be enthralled by Apollo, not just in the Rocky movies, nor just in Rocky Legends. Apollo is without doubt the most excellent fictional black character that has ever been concocted. Well done, Sly Stallone. You most certainly gave birth to a black legend.
Plus, one specific outfit dresses up Jax as Carl Weathers.
You son of a bitch.
That's the best fucking piece of DLC ever made for any game ever.
You son of a bitch.